Hi and good morning everyone. And once again we start off with a bit of a dodgy signal. It's good now, it wasn't a second ago. And I can never explain why the signal is poor in my own house, 2 feet away from the modem. Anyway, good morning everybody, and welcome to a little talk about Australian money. But before we get there, Rich is just making me a cup of tea, so you might hear some stirring noises momentarily. Hi Tariq, good morning, how are you? So for anyone who's watching this later, my name's Lynn. We are doing a live stream and there will be comments in chat, so you might see me engaging with people. So that's what that's about. Sometimes the chat shows up later when you watch it again later on YouTube. Sometimes it doesn't. So if you see me engaging, you might want to follow along, following the chat if it's there. Welcome to everyone else who's joined. I'd love to see you say hi. Let me know who's here. All right, and before we begin, as always, I'd just like to acknowledge that we meet today on the traditional lands of the Awabakal and pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. And of course it is still in the UK the 11th of November, so it is still Remembrance Day in the UK. It was yesterday for us. I was going to do a stream for Remembrance Day, but where I had in mind is actually closed on a Tuesday, so we weren't able to do that. But I do have, hi Matthew, great to see you. Matthew says hi Richard.
Hello.
What I do have is, bear with me, media, this one here. This one here was when we went up to Fort Scratchley last week to check it out and find out what they're doing for, I don't know how to expand that. Oh, there we go. So to find out what they're doing for Remembrance Day, and here's some crocheted poppies on the hillside, just above, at the upper level of Fort Scratchley, and there you can see one of the crosses for the one of the engagements that Australians were involved in the First World War. So, excuse me. So that's what I was wanting to show you. There's a poppy for every person who lost their lives during the First World War, every Australian. And there's also purple poppies for the animals as well, which is rather nice. And now I don't need to know how to get rid of that. How do I get rid of this now? There. Okay. So yes, Remembrance Day. And we also yesterday had the 50th anniversary of a parliamentary situation that happened in Australia where it was labelled as a constitutional crisis. So on the 11th of November in 1975, our Governor-General, who is the Queen's representative here in Australia, hi Evelyn, good morning, sacked the government of Australia. And that was extremely controversial, of course, at the time, and people still recognise that as a terrible thing to have happened. So 50 years since that happened. And for those who are interested, it's also the anniversary of the hanging of Ned Kelly, which happened on the 11th of November in 1880. So the 11th of November in Australia was a pretty big day, all way round. But today we're here to talk about money. And when I planned this event, I actually didn't intend to have it in any way related to Remembrance Day. But that's just the way it turns out. So I wake up this morning and I'll see on Facebook that there are lots and lots of beautiful posts acknowledging that today is Veterans Day in the US, Remembrance Day in many other places. And I'm going to play a little clip right at the end of this that actually has a completely different relevance for the 11th November, but we'll have to see what that is when we get there. All right, so Australian money. We changed from imperial currency the old money, pounds, shillings and pence, to decimal currency on the 14th of February 1966, and there was a cute little ditty that went along with that I'm not going to sing to you, but it was a way of remembering that on the 14th of February, when I was all of 7 years old, we were changing our money, so we were actually going decimal. And the first note that we had was this note here. Now what I'm going to do is turn the camera around, because I know that we are in a mirror image right now, so that you can see it better. I'm going to turn the camera around and we'll put the money in front of me. So this was our very first decimal currency note, the $1 note, and it had an image of Queen Elizabeth and our Australian coat of arms, but depicted as if it's Aboriginal artwork for the kangaroo and the emu there. And what's also interesting about the coat of arms, for those of you who don't know, the kangaroo and the emu are two animals that cannot physically go backwards. So that's one of the reasons why they are depicted on our coat of arms. On the reverse of the $1 note, we have lovely Aboriginal artwork. These notes are still redeemable. You can still actually spend them as valid currency in Australia, but more often than not, you don't see them, and people are more likely to collect them rather than spend them. And they are, if they arrive at the bank, they're taken out of circulation. So that's the $1 note, and then that was followed by the $2. And on the $2 note, we have Australia rode on the sheep's back, is what's often said. So the wool industry, this is John MacArthur, who was the pioneer of the merino wool industry in Australia. And this is from 1966, and you can still use them. Yeah, you can still use them, Evelyn. It is actually still valid currency, but people don't, because it's better for people to collect them. And then that on the back is William Farrer, who headed up the wool industry. So wheat industry, I beg your pardon. So that's what he's renowned for, is strengthening the wheat industry. So wool and wheat were our two biggest industries, agricultural industries, back then. And then we had, soon after that, the $5 note was launched. And on this one we have Caroline Chisholm, and she was a pioneer for women and girls, in particular, finding them jobs, finding them homes, finding them work when they came out from England to Australia. So she was huge in getting that those women and children secure employment, secure housing. And then on the reverse we have, oops, wait a second, sorry about that. Here we go. On the reverse we have Joseph Banks, who sailed with Captain Cook to Australia. So you can see in the background there his actual illustrations of all the flora that he discovered was so unique to Australia, and he would record it and illustrate it. And so that's Joseph Banks there. So that was our paper money. Oh, one more. We actually have two more, in fact, but I don't have the 20. The Banksia, yes, the Banksia is depicted there. You can see the Banksia cone and gum nuts are all there on the $5 note. And then we have the $10 note. And on the $10 note, we have Henry Lawson. Henry Lawson was a bush poet. So he would write about the hard times in rural Australia in the 19th century. And we are actually going to meet his, for a brief time, romantic interest in a moment. And she described him as a hopeless drunk. So So he wrote a lot of amazing poetry, but he wasn't much of a family man. And then on the reverse we have God, my brain's not working very well this morning. The first architect in the Australian colony. Most of Sydney was built by Francis Greenway. And here we can see depictions of some of the buildings that were attributed to his work. He actually came out to Australia as a convict, and then made a name for himself as the builder of Sydney. All right, I'm going to turn the camera back around for a moment. Front camera. Okay, so that was our paper money that was launched initially in 1966, but we also have a couple more notes, and I can show them to you here. If we go to, I'm going to actually show you a web page. So let's go there. This is why I'm zoomed in. So on this website here for the RBA, what's the RBA stand for? Bank of Australia. It's our main bank. You know, the main Royal Bank of Australia. Yeah, the one that issues all our money. So we've seen the 1, the 2, the 5, and the 10, and then we have here, this is the 20, and 20 is a nod to innovation. We have Lawrence Hargraves, sorry, bear with me. We have Charles Kingsford Smith and Lawrence Hargraves. So on one side we have Charles Kingsford Smith, and both of them were involved in the early pioneering days of flight in Australia. Excuse me, I just have to cough. I just noticed that you're not seeing both of those. So let me just tilt this up a little so you can see that one. There we go. It gets better, Matthew. Yeah, it gets better. So much more colourful than American currency. You wait till you see what's coming up next. And then we also had the $50 note. When decimal currency first came out, I didn't actually see very many of these. I might have been lucky to see one in a pay packet occasionally, but 50 was a lot of money to me back then. I think I rarely ever saw a 50. Buy a house for 50, says Richard. Yeah, you could probably buy a car, a bit of a banger. So on the $50 note back then we had Lord Howard Walter Florey, and I don't even know who that is, who shared the 1945 Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine for the discovery of penicillin, and Sir Ian Clunies-Ross, a veterinary scientist who became chairman of the Commonwealth Scientific and the CSIRO, the Commonwealth Scientific and Industrial Research Organisation. And the CSIRO is the organisation who invented Wi-Fi. So we can thank the CSIRO and Sir Ian Clunies-Ross for the development, the innovation of Wi-Fi. Evelyn says, most banknotes in the world are colourful, easy to distinguish. Yeah, it's just the Americans that have stuck with that sort of same colour, same size. I don't know how you manage, Matthew, I really don't. In a dark pub, a dark bar, how do you not hand over the wrong note in that situation? And then, of course, the $100, I mean, only really, really rich people had the $100 note back then. Even now we don't often see a $100, but this was the $100 back in the paper money era. And it features Douglas Mawson, Sir Douglas Mawson, who was an explorer and explored the South Pole, the Antarctic, and John Tebbutt. Well, they were both attributed with fields of physics and geology. Tebbutt was a pioneer of Australian astronomy and discovered major comets. So that's Mawson there in his balaclava, because it's cold, and this is Tebbutt down the bottom here. who discovered meteors. So I don't think I've ever seen that note in my life. All right, so that's our paper money. Now, where Australia really innovated, and I think we can thank once again the CSIRO for this, is that Australia invented the plastic note, plastic currency. And we can actually see it here, but we can also see it here. 1988, the first plastic banknote ever anywhere in the world. And I think one of the reasons I was prompted to do this tour, Tariq, is that I saw one of those library tours where a woman from America had visited the UK. She was a Jane Austen fan, and she was remarking on the amazing plastic money there. And I went, hang on a second, that was us. Well, you guys have that now too. But this was the very first plastic banknote ever in circulation anywhere in the world. It was launched on the 26th of January, 1988, to coincide with Australia's bicentenary. And it depicts the Aboriginal culture on one side, and on the other side it depicts colonial Australia. So the new colonisers. We have the Endeavour depicted there in the little holographic image in the corner. You might be able to see Cook, James Cook, in that that window in the corner. And these are all part of the new security features that were added. It's beautiful, isn't it, Tariq? So we were living in London at this time, and my mother sent me this in a card, and I've kept it ever since because it's just so incredibly beautiful, and very proud to be part of the country that sorry? Give it to you. Richard says give it to me. No, you're not getting it. So yes, it's very beautiful. And look at I'm trying to get in closer to see the detail. And then over on this side here. There we go. And there's a name for that figure, the humanoid figure, in their artwork, and it just escapes me at the moment. I'm sorry. All right, so that was the very first plastic banknote. I just need to bring my screen back up again, because now we're going to look at the new issue of the plastic currency. So when the $1 note, this one, the paper one, was taken out of circulation and replaced by a coin, it wasn't actually, well, it was replaced by a coin in 1984, I believe, the $1 coin was launched. So we were without the dollar notes, without the Queen's likeness on it, until the $5 plastic note was launched into circulation in 1992. And what we're going to see here is some of the amazing security features on the $5 note. And I have one here. It's a bit faded. It's not the same color as the one on the screen. But what we're going to see is, first of all, the incredible detail of the fine lines in the background. And what you're looking at there is the 7-pointed star. And actually, I might borrow your phone for just a moment, Richard, if that's okay. So you can only see 4 points at the moment, but when I put the light onto it, this is what I've been trying to figure out a way I can hold it up to the light and show it to you, because what we get is, let me see if I can do this. What I want to do is this there. Okay, so now you can see the 7 points. So those other 3 points are actually on the other side. Here you go. Thanks. So I'll show you. So on the other side is the other 3 points of the 7-pointed star that you can see when you hold it up to the light. So that's one of the security features. Excuse me. Sorry, moving things around too much, aren't I? Then we have the window down the bottom here, and that has a stylized impression of the Australian gum flower, the eucalyptus flower. And then right over here on this side here, I don't think we're going to be able to see it, but let's see if we can focus. So that tiny, 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 tiny writing there actually says $5, and I'll show you that. No, it's not about light for that one, Richard. It's just that it's really, really tiny writing. So it's, where is it? Let me see, that one there. Yeah, that one there. So when you zoom in that area there, it's tiny, tiny writing that says $5. And that's present on every single one of our banknotes. So you'll see that, let me see if I can turn it that way. It has it blown up, a blown up image of the security writing in the background on that side. So getting back to other features of the $5, just get out of that. We have the gum leaves. The gum leaves on the left there. So that's the eucalyptus. It's actually from the scribbly gum. And then of course the picture of the Queen, and she approved her likeness to be used on our currency in 1984. Actually, no, it says here, the Queen gave her approval for use of this image on an Australian banknote in 1988, beg your pardon. All right, so we've looked at the micro printing. In the background, which you might just be able to see under the serial number there, very faintly, you see the coat of arms appearing through the note at that point there. So that's another security feature. And then we've talked about the 7-pointed star. The 7-pointed star represents Australia's states and territories. So we have 5 states and 2 territories. And then the window, the transparent window. Then on the reverse, what we have is the plan for Australia's new Parliament House. So in the very front here is Old Parliament House, which is still there in Canberra, is now used as a museum, mainly to show the history of Australian politics. And then that's the new Parliament House, which the old Parliament House was opened in 1927. When did the new Parliament House open? Was it 1988? I think it might have been in time for the bicentenary. So that's what that looks like there. And then over on the right hand side is like a elevation profile. So it's an architectural image of the interior of where is it? That one there. So it's the entrance to the ministerial wing of Parliament House is depicted there on the right hand side. And then this just shows once again the micro printing, which is in the background, which you can really barely see. It's just so fine. Let's come in close. It's very, very fine. And then another security feature is that under blue light, you can see the serial number shine, and there's this little square box that you and I are never ever going to see. And then finally, you have the number 5, which is actually tactile. So if you run your finger over it, you can just feel it's slightly raised. So that's another security feature, all to protect against counterfeit. Okay, so that's the $5. let me see, get back out of there. I'm going to go through the rest of these fairly quickly because I want to get on to the new series. So we've got the $10 note, which is here. The $10 note depicts Banjo Patterson. Andrew Barton Patterson is another of our bush poets. He wrote The Man from Snowy River, and you can actually see lots of beautiful depictions of horse riders and horses shown in the background of this one. And then up there in white, once again near that seven-pointed star, is Waltzing Matilda, and that was used for a logo for one of our tea brands, Billy Tea. So you can see that that's what was used on the Billy Tea pack. And there's the image of Banjo Patterson. Then on the reverse of the $10 note, we have, this is Mary Gilmore. And Mary Gilmore is also a poet. She was the first woman poet. And on the left of her likeness, you can see a portrait of her that was painted by an Archibald Prize portrait winner, William Dobell. And that hangs in the, I believe it's the National Gallery in Canberra. No, it's the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Sorry, there we go. So that's William Dobell's portrait of Mary Gilmore. And if you recall, I mentioned that Henry Lawson had a brief romance with another person who was going to appear in our talk today. This was Mary Gilmore, and she's the one that described him as a waste of time and a drunk, basically. So yeah. Then down the bottom here, we can see some of the subject matter, pioneering life. This is an engraving titled The Wool Season, and it appeared in the Illustrated Australian News in 1881. So really that's just the relationship between her topics of poetry. All right, so moving along, we now have, there's the security features there. Trying to get back to the main image. Now we have the $20 and the $20 note. Oh, excuse me, I need to cough again. I'm going to have a sip of tea before it goes cold. On the $20 note, we have Mary Ryby. Mary Ryby came out here as a convict and married a businessman who died at a young age, and then she took over the business and just expanded it. She was a very successful businesswoman in Australia. So what we see is shipping was a big part of her business. So we have a depiction of the ship there. This was one of the buildings that she operated out of and owned in the centre of Sydney. And this is the only likeness of Mary Ryby that's available. It was just a pencil sketch. It's the only likeness that we have of her. On the reverse of the $20 note, excuse me, is John Flynn, Reverend John Flynn, who pioneered the Royal Flying Doctor Service. And that image there refers to the radio, the pedal-powered generator that operated the transceiver wireless sets that made communication possible to allow him to operate remotely. So on stations out in remote Australia, people would have radios and they were able to call for a doctor, and he operated his planes throughout remote and rural Australia. The Royal Flying Doctor Service is still a very, very important part of access to medicine in rural and remote areas of Australia. He was a reverend. He started out as a reverend in the Presbyterian Church, was part of what was known as the patrol padres. So they would go out on their camels to minister remote areas before he got into flying, and then ultimately the Royal Flying Doctor Service. So I'm going to skip the next two notes because all of these notes are reflected again in the next iteration, which is the new series of plastic currency with the even stronger security features. So what we're going to see here, let me see, I'm on a very uncomfortable stool, forgive me. So what we're going to see here is some of the beautiful and amazing security features that have been added to the Australian currency, the plastic notes, starting with that 7-pointed star up the top. So the transparent window has, you have to tilt it a certain way. Now, can you see that? Do you see the way the bird appears to be flying and the wings appear to be going up and down as the color changes? And then, so that's an eastern spine bill, and that's it there as well. So we've got it in flight, and we've also got it perched on a branch beneath it. And then down beneath that we have, there we go, there's the 5, and if I hold it a certain way, the 5 actually reverses, but you've got to sort of you've got to get the right angle for it to reverse direction, and I'm not succeeding in doing that. But let's have a look. So we've got that one there, which is this one over here. There's the spine bill up there. And then over here we have the wattle, which is the illustrations down the center band is the wattle images. The fluttering bird we've already looked at. And the spine bill. And then you can see this is the Federation Pavilion. And that's what's supposed to happen when you move the note around. It's supposed to change direction of that 5, but I'm just not getting it to work quite. Oh yeah, I saw it momentarily, I saw it briefly, the reverse image. Anyway, so that's what the 5 does. And then the wattle we've already looked at. Now, top and bottom of every of the new series of the plastic notes is a little bump. So just up there, do you see the little bump? There's one bump for the 5, another one down the bottom there. This is an accessibility feature. And on the 10, we have 2 bumps at the top there. Let's turn it around the right way. So we've got 1 bump at the top of the 5, 2 bumps at the top of the, you can see it there, 2 bumps at the top of the 10, 3 bumps at the top of the 20, and so it goes. So, long time. Hi Susanna, wonderful to see you. So yes, the amazing security accessibility feature at the top there, the 1 for the 5, the 2 for the 10, the 3 for the 20. Here's a 50, and I don't have 100. 4 for the 50. And everyone say good morning to Susanna. It's absolutely wonderful to see you here. So on the reverse of the 5, we've already briefly looked at that. But once again, it's the same as featured on the earlier iteration. This one here. So we see the Parliament House. In the revised, updated version, there's the Parliament House there. And then in the foreground, in front of Parliament House, is the mosaic on the forecourt, which represents the dot painting of the traditional owners So it basically says here, it's the forecourt mosaic based on a central desert dot-style painting by Michael Nelson Damagara titled Possum and Wallaby Dreaming. So that's, let me just turn the camera slightly so you can see. So that's what the forecourt of Parliament House looks like. So that's what you're seeing there on the actual note. And then over here, yes, our biggest note is the 100, Evelyn. We don't see those very often. So this is just showing you again, once again, the background in the micro printing, which is almost impossible to see when you actually look at it with the naked eye, but getting as close as I can. There we go. Over here. Yeah, I just can't keep it in focus. What else? Did I miss anything? I don't think I did. I showed you the 7-pointed star up there. And also the spine bill, Eastern spine bill, the Federation pavilion, and of course the window at the top, which when you tilt it against the light changes colour. And in the corner is more of the plan, the architectural plan of Parliament House, and the 5, the tactile 5, and then once again the micro printing. Under blue light, you can see the date of issue of each note. All right, so we haven't looked at the 50 now. The $50 note celebrates David Unopon, who has been likened to Leonardo da Vinci in terms of his inventions. Basically, he perceived the concept of the helicopter decades before a helicopter was ever invented. So he's an Aboriginal, he was a writer and an inventor. Sorry, I'm just going to take another sip of tea. So this portrait of him is based on a photograph from the State Library of South Australia. But I'm just going to briefly go into his biography and just show you just his achievements. He came from an area of South Australia which is incredibly remote. He was born in a mission. His family lived, Port Macleay Mission is where his family comes from. Let me just, I actually can show you where that is. That's here. So Adelaide, very top of the map, and Port Macleay is just at the beginning of what's called the Kooyong, which is a very, very long strip of coastal, marshy country, extremely remote country between Adelaide and the border with Victoria in the west of Victoria. So where that red dot is where the Port Macleay mission was. And once again, I'm not sure how to get out of here. How do I get out of there? Let me see. Always, there it is. Okay. So David Unopon, one of his biggest achievements was an improved hand tool for sheep shearing. So he was renowned for that. Hi Sarah, g'day, welcome, lovely to see you. Richard says Gordon Andrews designed the first Australian decimal banknotes released in 1966. Thanks, Richard. And let's get back to that page I was looking at before. Oh, where's it gone? Here. All right, and then in the background of the $50 note are implements related to his life, as in his background, his lifestyle. These images are based on Gurindjeri shields from the 1850s. And then over here, where is it? I'm looking for something else. Well, we've got the swan. In the window is the swan. So you can see the black swan there. And then that the center part once again shows the swan in flight. I don't know if you can see that. You've got to get the right angle for this. And then up the top, what we're looking at right up the top is the three-dimensional open book. So that's at the top. And then on the other side, on the reverse, this is Edith Cowan. And I don't actually know a lot about Edith's story, so I actually am going to read to you what she was about. But I know that she was the first woman in Parliament in Australia, in Western Australia. She was in Parliament for, I believe, 3 years. So she served one term. So that's Edith Cowan's story. A strong woman, another strong woman. Over here on this side, this shows Women's and Maternity Hospital. She had a lot to do with social enterprises, women's social issues. So she was championing causes for women. And then she went into Parliament on that basis. All right, so then we have the $100 note. This is the note that we never get to see. I think we saw one about a month ago. I think we had it in our possession for about half a day. But on the $100 note is, and I don't have one here to show you, so we are going to have to look at it here. So this is Nellie Melba, Dame Nellie Melba, the soprano. And what can I tell you about Nellie Melba? I didn't get a chance to swat on Nellie Melba's life, but she's here we go. Where are we? Triumphant Homecoming involved a concert tour of all Australian states and New Zealand. She returned to Europe in 1903 and came back to Australia many times. She made almost 200 recordings. Toast. Peach Melba. Peach Melba. I know about Peach Melba. Has anyone had Peach Melba? Ice cream with peaches, and I think it's got strawberry sauce on it. So the $100 note has the owl. So this is the powerful owl, colourful owl, it says. I thought it was the powerful owl. And then up the top is the fan. Oh, it's raspberry sauce. I thought it was strawberry. All right, so that's the $100 note. And then we're looking over here. Of course, it has the 5 bumps, has an accessibility feature. and then the little, like all the notes do, that little colourful bird in the corner for the $5. It's a spine bill. For the $100, it's that colourful owl. And then over here we have another image of Nellie Melba from the program for Barbara of Seville. On the reverse of the $100 note is Monash, John Monash, and he was a military, what was he? He was a general, I think it was. Thank you for letting me see an actual $100 note. Yeah, pretty much the same, Susanna. We never see them. I don't use cash very much these days, but even when I did, 100s, very rare. So he served in the First World War, and he is considered to be our greatest military leader. He got people off the beach in Gallipoli. I think that's probably one of his big achievements. And then down the bottom of that little strip, that's what you'll see if you have an actual $100 note in your hand, which I don't. And then on this side here is the little window. On the side of the $100 note is the Fiensford Bridge, represents Sir John Monash's legacy as an engineer. He was big in concrete too. Apparently he had something to do with concrete. There's a roof tile company still in Australia called Monia, and I believe he had something to do with founding that company. So the famous Monash University is based on John Monash. Yes, it is, Evelyn, that's it. And there's other establishments around Australia that also have a nod to his name. So that's all the Australian currency. Now I've picked up a few others, and I'm going to compare to others that I've picked up in the last few journeys that we've made. So this, for instance, is $5 from Fiji. Still paper money there in Fiji with a metal band going through it. The Queen on one side, and on the other side it has, what is that? I think it's a flower and a lizard. So that's $5 from Fiji. I've got €5 here. €5, again, it's paper money. It has a bit of a metallic strip down the right hand side. It has the EU banner, flag up on the left hand corner, and on the other side, what is that? Actually, I think this varies from country to country. So I think if you pick up a €5 note in one country, you might see one kind of monument, and in another country it's something different. But there's the obviously an aqueduct of some sort. We also picked up one ringgit from Malaysia. There we go. That's still paper money. And then on the other side we have, there's a mountain, and I don't even know what that is. Is that a musical instrument? Possibly. And with some Arabic writing reflecting the different heritage and cultures in Malaysia. Now this is a rare and unusual note. I want you to tell me what you find unusual about this note. I'm just going to open up the window again. Tell me what you find unusual about this particular banknote. I'm going to turn it over. I have never seen a banknote like this anywhere in the world. I'm not going to turn it sideways. Has anyone figured out what's unusual about this particular banknote? Seven. Yeah, exactly, Susanna. Has anyone ever seen any currency anywhere that's $7? It's got this sort of metallic up the top there. And that's to celebrate. Rugby is huge in Fiji, and they won something. It says here, Rugby Sevens gold Olympians. So they obviously won a gold medal for Rugby Sevens. So they celebrated by issuing a $7 note. Never seen a $7 note anywhere. And then finally, I have here, bear with me, from Sri Lanka. From Sri Lanka, 50 rupees. Yeah, it would be, Evelyn. It would be a commemorative note. And we just happened to end up with it in the course of getting coffee or something. And I just thought how unusual it was. So that's Sri Lanka, 50 rupees. And once again, they've gone vertical as well. Buy a box of matches. Yeah, I think that's probably true too. I might be able to get a roti with that. Okay, do you know what? I'm not going to, because it's already, I've spent a lot of time talking. Of what I was actually going to do was I was going to show you a little video from Köln Carnival. The reason I was going to show it to you is because I've been doing some video editing. Let me turn this camera around. Video editing, and I came to some video from Carnival in Köln, and I was looking up the relevance of Carnival and why they celebrate certain things the way that they do, and it kept coming up with this date, 11th of November. I thought, well, that's strange. Carnival is in it precedes Lent, basically, so it's February usually, but it insisted everywhere I was looking, Carnival starts. The official start of Carnival, 11th of November. How crazy is that? Apparently they actually have the opening event for Carnival in Germany on St. Martin's Day. And so that, you know, children going out and the lanterns and everything that they do to do with St. Martin's Day, they've actually incorporated that into what they term their Carnival celebrations. And they have an opening event, which is just another excuse to go out and drink, basically, on the 11th of November. And then the whole thing is set aside for Advent and Christmas and you know what, you name it. The whole thing's put aside until the Thursday before Ash Wednesday. So official Carnival, the 6 days of madness, starts on that Thursday, which is the Women's Day, apparently. And then you have the main party on the Saturday. Then you have the Rose Monday parade on the Monday. And every single day they're just out there in costumes and crazy and music and drinking and what have you. I put together about 8 minutes of video, which I was going to bring in and show you, but I think I've gone on long enough. Do you want to see the video? It's 8 minutes. It's 8.5 minutes. Let me know. Let me know if you want me to put the video on. I can do that. It's old. It's from 1990. It's antique footage, which means that the quality is not brilliant. But if you'd like me to, I've done a voiceover because I figured out that I can't narrate and show a video at the same time, apparently. which is, I was always wondering why other guides showed videos silent. It was so that they could talk. So that's the reason. I would love to. What about the others? Evelyn said yes. I'm happy to if you'd like to watch it. We've got 8 people here. Oh, look, we've got 1 yes, so let's do it. Okay, so where is it? Let me find my video. This one here. Might take a moment. No, it's not that one. Hang on, it's this one. Get rid of that. Sorry, this one. Expand it and press start. Today we're going back to Cologne in 1990 for Carnival. Let me show you the Carl Berger Bruno, which was Foods Bronze painting. It was erected in 1987 in Carl Berger. Celebrates Cologne Carnival's traditions and its characters. In the bow stands Mother Colonia, while 2 pints of water tumble down the steps and instruments are played by masked performers. The fountain was renovated in 2013. The oldest and largest festival in Germany, and possibly all of Europe, Carnival's roots originate from Roman times, when the citizens of the city, then known as Colonia Claudia Ara Agrippinensium, celebrated the festival of Saturnalia. While this festival in honor of the god Saturn is traditionally celebrated by the Romans in December, the Germanic people of Colonia typically held these festivities later. The rise of Christianity in 380 CE signaled the end of Saturnalia, and so the festival was repurposed into one where driving out evil spirits of winter was replaced by driving out the devil himself. It became the final days of feasting before the period of fasting, leading to the observance of Easter. Farewell meat is literally vale carne or carnivale. Probably the main thing anyone really needs to know about the Carnival is that it is overseen by Rex Bibendi, or a king of drinking. That says it all, really. Worth it? Silent. Standing at the centre
So I can't hear
of
anything
the
here.
festivities is the magnificent Cologne Cathedral, the Kölner Dom.
The sound is bad.
It's fading in and out. Yeah, I've had it. Don't know why it's coming in and out.
Oh, wow.
Take their
Okay.
car along.
All right.
Sorry, guys. That was a fail. Don't know why that was so bad. We tested it. I tested it. You know, a test video, and I thought it was all working. But obviously, I need to rethink how I deliver videos. I thought I was doing, thought I was onto something there by doing a voiceover, but it's just not, that's no good. All right, so the one last thing I wanted to talk about is that I went to a funeral 2 days ago. It was very sad. It was a friend of mine I went to school with. We weren't close, but she suddenly passed away from ovarian cancer, and it was she'd battled it, and she thought they thought she was on top of it, and then all of a sudden her her body just decided that she'd had enough. She did a very beautiful thing. Her family did. They apparently she loved earrings. She used to wear earrings. She used to wear different earrings all the time, and so they gave it was like a lucky dip. They gave her earrings away, and I came away with these. So they invited all the ladies to dip into a lucky dip dish and pull out a bag, and then there was so many left over. That I actually came home with 3 pairs, beautiful earrings. It was really hard, Evelyn. It was really hard. There was so many people there. It was the most emotional funeral I've ever been to. But look at this. Look at this. I'm now the proud owner of these stunning, absolutely beautiful earrings from Lisa. So Lisa, if you're up there watching, we love you dearly, and safe journey. All right, that's all from me, and I actually have no idea what I'm going to do next. We're running out of ideas. I'm running out of mobility. Everything we try, we have signal issues with, and so I just keep trying to come up with new ideas. I don't think the banknotes idea was as polished as I hoped it would be, but I hope you got some value out of that. Believe me, I'm not rich. Most of these ones I keep to collect. There's only 4 notes in here that are actually from my wallet. The rest are in my collection. So I'm feeling like I'm flush with all these notes. It's not like 50 rupees. It's not worth very much. All right, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I've enjoyed your company as always, and hopefully we'll see you out on the virtual tour trail. Thanks, Tariq. I'm glad you enjoyed it. We'll see you out on the tourist trail, the virtual tour trail, at some point somewhere. Sarah says she'll be happy to know her earrings have gone to good homes and she's out of pain as well. Absolutely, Sarah. Absolutely. Yeah. These days they live stream funeral services as well, so I know that at least 2 of my school friends were watching from places far away. All right, yeah, that's all from me. I'm tearing up. That's silly. I don't do this. I don't know why I'm tearing up. Anyway, enough of that. See you all again soon. Bye for now. We're gonna have breakfast. See you guys.